Pokemon Legends Arceus is a metaphysical tour de force. I would go so far as to say that it is the Summa Theologica of Pokemon games. It dares to ask the big questions, the questions the other Pokemon games, in their childish simplicity, refuse to even acknowledge. Questions like, could God make a Pokeball so big that it could contain God? If God is a contingent being and the universe depends upon his existence, what if God is in a Pokeball? Would the universe continue to exist or would it collapse? And many, many more questions to deal with the meaning of life and the relationship of humans to Pokemon and to their god, Arceus. So, of course, I'm being over the top and kind of facetious, but it does always amuse me that God is literally a Pokemon that you could catch. Now, granted, Arceus was a mythic Pokemon, so I think you could only get him through events prior to this. But as you can see in this game, I do in fact have Arceus. I do in fact have God in a Pokeball. Now, to be fair, it's not actually Arceus, it's a piece of his power or one of his avatars or something like that. But those are just like minor details. If we're going to go through like the Trinity, then Jesus is fully God, and then if Jesus was in a Pokeball, I never thought I'd say Jesus is in a Pokeball. Although my personal belief is that Ash Ketchum is the Messiah of the Pokemon world, and that he was conceived, uh, that Delia, however you pronounce her name, Ketchum, was visited by Arceus, and Ash was conceived by Arceus, and it was a virgin birth to be the messiah of all Pokemon. And that's a bit of the cosmology. You can also capture space and time in a Pokeball and the negative world. So it's an interesting question. This game raises a lot more questions than answers, and I was so engaged with these questions, I honestly had trouble even playing the game. Okay, so that being said, let's talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I think the idea was to make a more action-oriented game, to go and kind of finally make a 3D Pokemon game. They'd kind of been hinting at it. You had the Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness, but I don't think those had like a field component to them. And then you also had like the various Switch remakes, like you had Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. You had Pokemon Sword and Shield, and you had the Diamond Pearl remake. But even though like Sword and Shield was kind of 3D, it didn't really take advantage of it in a meaningful sense. And this is like where we finally get a real 3D Pokemon game that feels like, as much as like a game on the Switch with its horrible draw distance. You can see how bad the draw distance is just as I'm flying around. Um, and how janky it is. It feels like you're actually exploring the world of Pokemon, and that's pretty cool. So they tried to make an actual action game. I remember when it was like announced, people were like, "This is going to be the Dark Souls of Pokemon games." And I mean, I'm sure they took like one or two minor aspects where you have kind of this weird pseudo online play, and when you die, you drop items that you have to go retake. It's normally like two great balls and a potion, so who even really cares? And there's like robust crafting mechanics and stuff like that. But overall, it's not really like that. So I don't really know what the plot of this game is. I'm just going to be honest. I replayed actually I got Shield. No, I bought Pokemon Shield and then I bought Pokemon Sword because you can't have a second save file from Russia for like $20. So it probably fell off the back of a Muskox or something. But I tried to like pay attention. There's no fucking story even if you read all the dialogue. For this game, I got bored like in the first 20 minutes and I stopped paying attention. As far as I can tell, Dawn here gets sent to the past, to Hisui, I think it's pronounced, which is this land before Sinnoh existed, and Sinnoh is like this heavenly realm in the sky. And I mean, this serves as like a very, very distant prequel to the other two, Diamond and Pearl. I can't speak today. So Pokeballs exist, but during this time period, they're made out of wood, which is kind of cool, to be honest. And you still have Pokemon. The Pokedex is a paper thing, which is kind of cool. So you got the Pokedex here. I've finished the Pokedex. After you beat the game, if you catch all the Pokemon in the game, then you're able to catch Arceus in a battle, which we'll get to that in a second. The worst part of this game by far is the boss battles. But the gameplay basically works like this: you go around in the field. There's just Pokemon all over the places. You can, if you can get sneak up on them, although it depends. Some species of Pokemon are more passive than others. You can chuck Pokeballs at them and capture them. Some Pokemon, if they detect you, will decide to attack you, like this Luxio here, and then you go into a battle. So unlike previous battles, this one is in. It's kind of hybrid. So if you look at the uh, back, not the back, the right of the screen, you'll see that my Gardevoir gets multiple moves. If you have a much higher speed than your opponent, then you can attack multiple times in a row, which is nice. It's kind of a cool feature. It gives a bit of a real timey feel to it. You can also change moves to go from agile style lets you attack more frequently and but does less damage, and strong style lets you attack less frequently but does more damage. So if you're just trying to one shot someone, strong style might be good. My issue is both of them increase PP. So I kind of don't really use them, and I tend to just stick with normal moves. Something I really like about this that I hope they keep is, so once a Pokemon learns a move, it goes into the move pool. And then at any point during the game, you can go through and change the moves up. So, like on my Gardevoir, I have Psychic, Moonblast, Thunderbolt, Aura Sphere, and all the other moves are in here, so I can just go through and change them. And it's like the TM system and the move remembrance and all that stuff is just kind of obnoxious. So it's kind of nice to have this. And there's no TMs in this game. There's just a move tutor, and you go to him and you pay the equivalent of what the TM would cost, and he adds the move to your move pool, which is a great thing, and I appreciate it. This game, unlike the previous ones, was designed to be played completely single player, so you can catch all the Pokemon in the game without trading. There's items you can get that evolve the Pokemon that would normally be evolved through a trade. It's called like a link something or other like that, which is kind of cool. I like that. It's the first Pokemon game I've actually bothered to catch them all. And there's a very good variety of Pokemon in this, from different generations, different starters. There's even a couple Hisui variants. One I made extensive uses of is Gudera, just because Steel Dragon is a really good combination. But this was largely my team. Um, Gardevoir, Infernape is god tier in this game. Electivire, Gudera, Torterra, and Samurott. The starting Pokemon you can choose is Samurott, Decidueye, and Typhlosion. Although that's not their first form, but they have their own versions. Like Samurott in this is Dark Water, which is actually pretty helpful. Um, Decidueye, I believe, is Grass Fighting, and Cyndaquil's final form is Ghost Fire. Once again, kind of an interesting Pokemon. But yeah, so as you're wandering around, enemies will attack you if you decide to try to run from them. Like this Parasect is gonna, I think, yeah, trying to shoot me with poison. And if you take enough damage, you pass out and you have to go back to a place. Now, this is a cool feature, but it's also kind of a pain because this game isn't really like the controls aren't really designed as an action game. Um, so evading can be kind of obnoxious and it can kind of be crappy. The boss battles in this game are complete shit because you're given these balls you're supposed to throw at them, while evading attacks, and it's not built for that at all. And the boss battles are so bad they even included a feature to partially skip them. If you can make it through a quarter of a boss battle, it'll save your progress and you can restart from there. So, like, if you do one quarter of you're fighting Arceus's HP, then you can restart the battle where he has three quarters of HP and then restart at two. And I suck at the combat in this game, and there's not that often you really need to do combat as a human, so I just generally don't even really bother. Um, I just throw Pokeballs at people until they go away. I mean, the balls at people until they go away. So it's mostly open world. What's kind of cool is if you go to the Pokedex, it'll say what area. Yeah, so there's different regions in this. You can see there, and it'll tell you where in the region it's located and which regions it's in, which is really cool. So it makes actually completing the Pokedex pretty good. Although there's some Pokemon like Ursaluna, which has to be evolved on the full moon, which is kind of a new thing in this game. So I had to use kind of a guide for some of these, but by and large, it's pretty fun to just go around and explore and find stuff. And there's a decent range of legendaries to capture and that kind of thing. And as you beat bosses, you'll get new field Pokemon to ride. Like I have my, I forget what it's called, Sweet Sneasel? Sweezel or Sneasel or whatever. So he can climb. Then there's a Bravery which can fly, and this thing which can run and jump. And it opens up a lot more of existing areas if you want to go back once you're able to swim or something like that. So it's a lot of fun. Um, there's a point system, so you master a Pokemon once you get 10 points in it, and these are kind of like the things you get. This is how you get points. Um, so you catch them, catch alpha variants, defeat them, use certain moves. And there is an in game reason for this. So you get money from the Survey Corps because you're part of the uh, takes place in Attack on Titan, I guess. So you get money at the end of a level whenever you decide to go back to the village. So if you complete a bunch of these and you check a bunch off, then you'll get more money. And money's actually very helpful just because of how fast you're blowing through Pokeballs in this game. And other stuff, because it is actually substantially, I'd say, more difficult than the other ones, which is good because a lot of the other Pokemon games were just literally you press a button and you kill them. Now I'm doing that here because my Pokemon are like level 85. Um, Also, I think the graphics don't look bad. The battles are fast enough, I think. Um, Seeing the moves in kind of full 3D is kind of neat. I know most RPGs did this like 10 years ago, but this is a Pokemon game, so it's kind of cool to see. Um, Overall, I think it was a pretty good length. I played quite a bit of this game and I enjoyed it greatly. And yeah, just overall, I think it's a really solid Pokemon game. I definitely recommend it. Maybe the story is good and I just missed out on it. You can select a male character, but I like Dawn as a character, and she's a lot more recognizable to me, so I just decided to go with her for this version. Like I went with Red, I think, when I was playing Let's Go Eevee, but yeah, that's just kind of an aspect of the Pokemon games is the female characters tend to be a lot more iconic and developed, just because they all have traveled with Ash at some point, whereas the male ones tend to just be pretty like bland and generic. But overall, I'd give this game probably like somewhere between an 8.5 and a 9. If you like Pokemon games and you want to do something a little bit different, something a little bit new, there's definitely some issues with this bad draw distance, jankiness. Some of the mechanics weren't really well implemented. But you got to give them credit for trying something different and trying to mix up a series where the formulas kind of just remained the same for a long time. So overall, definitely would recommend Pokemon Legends Arceus. Good game. It is indeed the Dark Souls of Pokemon and the Summa Theologica of Pokemon.